evening, everyone.
Turn it down.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, my name is Andre Island. First off, I'd like to welcome you to my clinic. Thank you for all showing up. I appreciate it. Staff members too, thank you. You guys are the best. Okay, so, well, I'd like to start off with, well, this is the drum set. We have the bass drum, of course. This is the biggest drum. So this one gives you the biggest sound effect out of all of the drums, including the snare drum and the toms. And then we have what is called the second tom. Now the second tom is normally on the right hand side, for me it is, but due to the fact that I'm using a DW drum set, you know, they basically switched it around, and actually the melody is kind of it's basically in a different tone, as opposed to just having the traditional first tom on your left and the second tom on your right. So that's basically what that is with the whole tom section part. So you have the second tom, which is on the left hand side, and then you have the first tom, which is on the right hand side. Okay? And then we have what is called the floor tom. This is basically the last of the tom section. The floor tom, it's kind of like, how can I put it in terms of a sound effect? It's more of like a punchy type feel in the actual tom section. So, you know, the floor tom is, it's a pretty cool effect. I mean, you can actually tune up a floor tom to the point where you can actually make it sound like a kick drum, so, which is the bass drum, kick drum. So the floor tom is a pretty cool sounding tom actually out of the tom section. And oh, of course, I can't forget this one. We have the other tom, which is on this side. So this is actually the first tom. So the first tom would be on that side normally, but you know, due to the fact that I'm using DW, you know, DW, they have it on this side, okay? And the main drum, which is my favorite, the snare drum. So the snare drum is, I mean, you can tune it to the point where it can sound like a gunshot. I love it. You know, it's got like that loud, you know, snare. Just it sounds like a popcorn type hit. Just so actually the snare drum came before all of the other pieces on the drum kit so far, because during the Civil War movement, you know, they were actually having the snare drum as, you know, their cadence for when they were, you know, marching and getting ready to do the, you know, global domination, as you would call it, you know. And basically, back in the day, the snare drum would be strapped on the side. So, you know, the only way you could actually play was just by the side. So, as time moved on, you know, within the marching bands, they actually made what were called those vests that you can actually hook on. You can hook your snare drum onto, and you can play it straight out. So you weren't just subjected just to playing to the side. So that's basically the drum section. Okay, so now I want to go over the cymbals. Okay, so the cymbal, this is a ride cymbal. A ride cymbal, this is very important. With the ride cymbal itself, you can either crash on it, or you can either ride on it. So that's basically what the ride cymbal does. The ride cymbal is it's a very useful cymbal. So ride cymbal is one of my favorite cymbals actually. We also have the crash, which is another one. You can actually crash on that, or you can ride on it if you want. So with the crash cymbal is absolutely one of my favorites as well when it comes to rock. Because you're able to play just real hard and loud. Okay? And then we also have what is called a China trash, which you heard me hitting earlier. So it's almost like it has like the whole, you know, feudal Japan thing going on, you know? Just the whole. So the actual, the actual China trash is a pretty cool cymbal to play on as well. It's one of my favorites. And last but not least, I want to talk about equipment. Okay, now this is the funky part. This is what I like. Okay, in terms of equipment, traditionally, you know, you just have like a regular hi-hat, which is part of the cymbal grouping as well. You can just step down on it. Or you can actually just you know, keep it down, and you can just actually play on it. So that's basically what the hi-hat is. Hi-hat is a very useful symbol as well. But due to the terms of DW, I must say, excuse me for a second. Yeah, due to the terms of DW, they actually have their way of making you know, pretty cool equipment. What this is called on my left hand, oh, excuse me, not my left hand, excuse me, my left foot. Get mixed up, sorry. Okay, on my left foot, I actually have what is called the remote hi-hat. So the remote hi-hat, you actually have a hi-hat where you can step on it and play it as well. But at the same time, you can use the traditional hi-hat. So you can actually do just pretty much anything with a remote hi-hat, because it's just actually a double hi-hat. So it's a pretty cool effect for the hi-hat. And then we have what is called the double kick drum pedal, which is 2 pedals on 1 bass drum. Now, when the thought of playing 2 bass drums evolved, there was a guy called Louis Bellson. And so he actually came up with the idea of using 2 bass drums. So Louis Bellson, you know, he actually had like the idea of, okay, I can play 2. Well, as time went on, around the 70s, they actually made what was called a double pedal. So with the double pedal itself, the double pedal, you could actually stick on the double pedal to just 1 bass drum, and you could have the whole, you could have like that whole effect. So it was a pretty cool idea. But you know, actually, DW was the actual inventor of it. I mean, they used to be called a company. They were a company called Camco back in the 70s. So basically, when they broke off, they did the whole DW thing, and you know, they're still making double pedals to this day. So, you know, due to the fact of DW with the whole hardware, you know, they're able to do some pretty cool, innovative stuff. So that is basically the drum set. So I want to go over how to play correctly too as well. Now, whenever you see somebody playing a drum set, you immediately think, you know, wow, you know, I can't do that, or, you know, wow, this is easier, you know, like, wow, that's complicated, and I never would have thought of that, and yada yada this and yada yada that. Well, basically, it all starts with how to hold the stick. Does anybody have a general knowledge of how to hold the stick? Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Well, and I always held them, I used to hold them wrong, and
Okay.
but correct me if I'm wrong, I don't play traditional, I just
Right.
play matchstick. But with I used to play wrist sideways, but it's more wrist overhead, you know, over the top, with the use of all your fingers instead of just your
Exactly.
4 fingers, and using all of your fingers in the motion with the wrist over
Right.
the top.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Okay. So that's basically one of the most important parts about drumming, is being able to have wrist movement. Basically, this is all what your wrist should be doing. It's not really, you know, that much of a scientific thing, you know. It's just an up and down motion, because this is basically the way your tendons move naturally, you know. So like, say for instance, whenever you shoot a basketball, it's straight. Same thing with drumming, it's just straight down, you know. So basically, everything comes from your wrist and your forearm as well. Excuse me. Everything comes from your wrist as well as your forearm. Sometimes your upper muscle here, depending on what type of style you're actually playing. I mean, you know, if it's rock, then yeah, you can add like a little muscle up here, but it's just mainly wrist. And always remember too that up here for your shoulders, your shoulder blades should always be relaxed as well. That should be one of the most important parts when you're playing. So you'd have to stay relaxed and just make sure that you have nothing but wrist movement. Okay? So now, holding a drumstick would be something like this form. If everybody can see that. Okay? So, with this form, basically, you have these 4 fingers, which are the pinky finger, the ring finger, middle finger, and the index finger. Okay? Now, the thumb is going to be doing some guidance here. So what it is you curve them all around the